The static, humming stability of my old redoubt was a memory, a ghost of a life now abandoned. In its place, I existed within a new reality, the relentless, gentle vibration of constant motion. My sanctuary, once a fixed island of defiance, was now a sleek, self-contained vessel, a whisper of old-world technology gliding silently beneath the surface of the planar world. I was a king without a kingdom, an architect without a fixed blueprint. The isolation was more profound, a deep, pervasive quiet that could only be found on the run. But within that silence, I felt a new kind of freedom, a terrifying, exhilarating liberation from the constraints of place. I was the wandering architect. The syndicate, armed with their stolen knowledge, was a more cunning and dangerous foe than ever before. I felt their new tactics with terrifying clarity. They were no longer using broad, sweeping chi sweeps to find me. They were using surgical, highly targeted countermeasures designed to detect my specific frequency signature. Alyssin's mind was still a presence, a cold, clinical intellect haunting me. But now, with an intimate knowledge of my internal workings, of the very architecture of my dissonance. The game was no longer one of hide and seek. It was one of predator and prey. My work became a frantic, creative furnace of necessity. I could no longer rely on statistic defenses. My survival depended on my ability to constantly adapt, to create new, more sophisticated forms of dissonance on the fly. My mobile sanctuary's chi signature was in a state of perpetual flux. I created ghost signals, false traces of my presence that led to the syndicate on fruitless chases. I developed new, more fluid and unpredictable forms of chaos, energies that would not just disrupt harmony, but would mimic the very patterns of the planar world, hiding in plain sight. My mind, razor's edge of creativity and paranoia, was in a constant state of hypervigilance, constantly on the defensive, but in a new, active, and mobile way. Despite the danger, this new life offered opportunities that my old one never could. The ability to move through regions of the planar world that were previously too dangerous or inaccessible was a powerful new asset. The redoubt had been a fortress, but also a prison. Now, I was free. I could venture into the deep fissures of discordant chi, into the ancient remnants of the old world that even the syndicate avoided. This allowed me to gather new, unique forms of chi, energies from different regions that I could integrate into my being. My body, my very essence, was becoming a synthesis of these new energies, making me more powerful, more unpredictable, more truly Malachi. I was no longer just a scientist. I was a predator, a hunter of cosmic energies, a wanderer on the edge of two realities. The title of the Wandering Architect was more than a title. It was my new identity, a reflection of my mobile, ever-changing existence. The first encounter on the run was a tense, fleeting affair. My sensors suddenly screamed with a new alarm. The syndicate had found me. Their new tracking methods were brutally effective, using the information they had gleaned from my captured weaver to pinpoint my exact location with alarming precision. I felt the surge of their will, their intent to encircle and contain me. But I was no longer a static threat. My old sanctuary, a whisper of defiance, darted away. I activated a new decoy, a highly sophisticated ghost signal designed not to just mimic my signature, but to emit a chaotic echo that mimicked my very thought patterns. It was an intellectual masterpiece, a false Malachi for them to chase. The syndicate's pursuit faltered, their wills momentarily confused by the clever deception. The chase was not a protracted battle, but a fleeting, dangerous brush. I was not defeated. I was not even truly found. I had simply vanished. The encounter confirmed the new reality. There were a more dangerous foe, armed with knowledge of my internal workings, but I was a more elusive one, armed with the freedom of motion and a mind in a constant state of creative adaptation. The game had truly escalated. The episode ended with me, still on the move, but now with a clear understanding of my new reality. I was not a prisoner, I was a fugitive. My sanctuary was not a fortress, it was a shield, a vessel of defiance gliding silently through a world that wanted to erase me. I was alone, more so than ever before, but my will was ironclad. My purpose was clear. This new phase of the war would be fought not on a static battlefield, but on the move, in the shadows, in the fringes of a harmony that could no longer claim to be perfect. I was the wandering architect, and my grand design would not be stopped. It would just be built on the run, a moving monument to defiance and